Hello, it's June 6th, 2017. Welcome to this Long Island News Update. There's some more news to talk about here, actually a number of things to talk about. Let's first get started with some Pine Barrens news. This is stuff we haven't had any news about the Pine Barrens, but we actually have some good news this time. The state DEC is going to be getting $3 million to fight southern pine beetle. And what this money is going to go to is we're going to start doing in the Long Island Pine Barrens what has been being done in the New Jersey Pine Barrens for many years. New Jersey has a forestry team that always usually does these controlled burns. They make sure that the forest doesn't get unhealthily crowded, and if there is a southern pine beetle outbreak, what they do is they cut down the infested trees. This way the beetles cannot spread. So these things will hopefully help mitigate the southern pine beetles, which unfortunately have been a huge problem here on Long Island. They've been a problem due to the changing climate. We don't have the cold winters we used to have, so the beetles don't get killed off, and therefore they infest the trees. We got a lot of problems on the trains. Boy, I tell you, you can't win because NYC has tons of problems, but the trains, they're not any better. And I have to say, I think Patrick Nowakowski is going to go down as in history as one of the worst Long Island Railroad presidents that the Long Island Railroad has ever had. I've never liked the guy the minute he set foot. It shows he is arrogant. He doesn't care about the customers. He doesn't care about the service. He doesn't care about anything. And in fact, throughout this whole thing with Penn Station and all the problems going on there, and there were more problems again tonight, Patrick Nowakowski has not been around. He has not been around at all. I think that he is one of the worst presidents the Long Island Railroad has ever had. I really don't know why Cuomo is not asking for his resignation, but we all know why Cuomo is not asking for his resignation. Probably because they're buddies, just like Cuomo's buddy with Mangano. He's nowhere to be found, and the railroad is falling apart. We have these problems now. It's true. Most of the problems are due to Amtrak. Once again, there was a problem tonight in Penn Station, a switching problem that affected some of the low-numbered tracks. But the New Jersey Transit trains that use those tracks had to go onto the Long Island Railroad tracks and disrupted service. They wound up having most of the service on the Hempstead, Long Beach, West Hempstead, and I think maybe even Far Rockaway lines diverted to Atlantic. So they advised people, at least the Long Island Railroad did a little better job tonight of having people on certain branches go to Atlantic and use service out of there, and they should run extra service out of there, and that's what they need to do. And we are still, this is another reason why Patrick Nowakowski is the worst president the Long Island Railroad ever had, because he has not even, there was supposed to be, I think a couple of weeks ago now, there was supposed to be a plan for what the service changes of the summer track work that Amtrak is going to be doing at Penn Station. There was supposed to be a plan a couple of weeks ago as to what service changes would take place as a result of that. However, that's not what's happened. Instead, there is no plan yet. People need time to plan these schedule changes. They're going to wind up diverting trains, combining trains, and there may be some extra bus service or something involved. But they are not providing any answers right now to the people who ride the trains. And I think it's despicable. I think it really shows that Patrick Nowakowski doesn't give a shit about anyone. He is not even showing his face. All right, the man is. Some people like him. I don't understand how you. Helena Williams was much better than this guy. All right, Helena Williams may not have had a great railroad background, but she sure went and told you what was going on. All right, she tried her best to put the customer first, put the rider first. But Nowakowski, he doesn't care at all. And I really do think he needs to resign. And I think I've said that a while ago, and I'm going to say it again. Patrick Nowakowski, you need to resign. You are the worst president the Long Island Railroad has ever had. I've seen a lot of presidents through the years. Hopp, I've seen Pendergrast, and Williams, but Nowakowski by far has to be the absolute worst. And the subways, they're not doing great either. There are problems on them every day too. There was an F train stuck today. People were trapped on it. There was no lights. It was hot in there, and there was no information. People tried to break out of the train because it was so bad. the condition of the Long Island Railroad, the condition of the MTA, I have to say, is declining. And that has me concerned because it's not just nice. All the transportation infrastructure in the state is starting to fail, and it is due to our Governor Cuomo, who is spending millions and millions of dollars on needless things. Needless things like Wi-Fi in the stations. Needless things like charging stations. Like the new buses. Who needs this crap? Just maintain this stuff. Put the money toward that. I mean, a lot of train stations don't even have, here on Long Island, the Long Island Railroad is not 100% handicap accessible. People with physical disabilities are kept out of certain train stations. And News 12 had a story today. Surprised News 12 even reported this, but they had a story about a disabled veteran who lives in Amityville who cannot use the train station in his town because Amityville train station has no elevator. And this is not an old station. It was put up there, I think, in the late 70s. It does not have an elevator. Can you imagine? It does not have an elevator. How did the MTA get away with that? MTA says, well, it was built before ADA was required. Yeah, but does that, that just because it's old doesn't mean you shouldn't put an elevator in there. I mean, all this millions of dollars is going. They built millions of dollars to build a fucking pocket track in Massapequa that still isn't being used, but they can't put an elevator in Amityville? Are you kidding me? So this poor guy, he's got a motorized wheelchair. He's got to ride it 5 miles to the Massapequa train station to get on a train. It's despicable. This is another example of how disabled people get treated on Long Island. And in this case, a physically disabled person is not allowed to use his own train station. And I'm sure he would love to live in Massapequa. It would be a nicer town for him, but guess what? He's probably not allowed to live there. So they get the elevator in Massapequa, and they don't have an elevator in Amityville. I don't think Massapequa Park has an elevator, too. There are certain stations on the Babylon branch that are inaccessible to the handicapped, and I think those are Lindenhurst, Copeg, Massapequa Park, Amityville, and Wandsor. However, Wandsor is getting an elevator. It's part of their renovation. It's interesting, though, that they're putting the renovation priority is for Wandsor, a relatively wealthy white area, when it really should have been for Amityville, because I'm sure there are a lot more physically disabled people in Amityville that could use an elevator at their train station. But it's all about that discrimination. It's all about, treating the poor and the minorities and the disabled like crap and giving everything for the... It's called white privilege. All right, this is somebody it's called white privilege. All right, and speaking of white privilege, speaking of white privilege, I don't know if I'd want to move to New Jersey, given the choice that we may have for governor in New Jersey coming 2018, starting in 2018, because they held the primary today in New Jersey, both Democrat and Republican. And I want to talk about the Democratic side, because there are a lot of decent candidates on the Democratic side. But the voters who went to the polls, the Democratic voters who went to the polls in New Jersey, chose to vote for the rich snob, the rich elite. They put the elite guy in, so they chose Phil Murphy as the candidate for governor in New Jersey. This guy, he's worth millions and millions of dollars. Worked for Goldman Sachs. He's your typical finance industry jerk, and he works hand in hand with Hillary Clinton, the same kind of Wall Street people. And if this guy, Corzine, remember John Corzine? Well, this guy is going to be just like him. All right, so if this guy gets in, New Jersey is screwed. So I'm going to be following this closely, because if that guy gets in, there's no way I will ever move to New Jersey. All right, I'm hoping that Kim Guadagno, she is the lieutenant governor. She's going to now be the Republican nominee for governor. I hope the folks in New Jersey vote for her, because this guy, Phil Murphy, is going to be bad news for your state. And I know you may not be thrilled with the job Trump is doing, but here's another classic example of, the Democrats, they're the party of the poor. They're the party of the working class. Well, here you go. Democrats in New Jersey just elected somebody who works against the middle class, who works against the poor, somebody who works in the finance banking industry, Goldman Sachs, a firm that rips off people, part of the globalist elite crap, and you guys picked him. So, no, the Democrats don't give a shit about the poor, all right? That's why I'm still not a Democrat. I may not be thrilled with the job Trump is doing, But that doesn't make me a Democrat. All right? So let me make that clear. So I think that's all the update I have for now. I really was hoping I'd have the service plan for the Long Island Railroad. You know, Amtrak has their service plan, New Jersey Transit has their service plan, but still we are waiting on the Long Island Railroad for their service plan, which I think is ridiculous. Should have been out by now. It should have been out by now. But I keep my eye on what's going on in New Jersey for sure. I really hope and pray that Phil Murphy doesn't become the governor there, but I'm really worried he will, knowing that people I know are dissatisfied with Governor Christie. However, and it's not like I'm a huge Christie fan, but this guy is Phil Murphy. He is going to be much, much worse than Christie. So, you know, not that I really want to move to New Jersey anyway. I've explained to you that. But, you know, if living on Long Island means being stuck in a troubled neighborhood, I have to consider it. However, there are challenges to me living in New Jersey. And that one challenge will be the heat, if I have to live there. It's very hot there. I don't do well in the heat. I mean, here on Long Island, we've had only one day near 90. All right. New Jersey has had 5. All right. That's a lot of heat, and I don't know how I'd deal with that. It may seem like a small thing to you, but when you don't drive and you have to walk around and wait for buses, a much hotter climate is a huge challenge. So I'm going to still try to look to see what I can find on Long Island. I've got to try harder. You know, Long Island is my home. I don't want to leave. I think I've made that clear many, many times here. You know, with all the annoying problems that Long Island has, these problems can be found anywhere else in the country too. It's just that they're a little more exaggerated here. And so let me ask you this question here for New Jersey. All right, if you live, well, even if you don't live in New Jersey, do you think, you can answer to the poll, do you think Phil Murphy will be a good governor for New Jersey? Do you think Phil Murphy is the right choice for a governor in New Jersey, or do you think he's going to be a colossal mistake? I think he's going to be a colossal mistake. So that's it. Take it easy, and when I have the Long Island Railroad service plan, I'll bring it to you. Whenever they release it, they should have released it by now. Take it easy.